Dr. Heather Moore, owner of Total Performance Physical Therapy, and tonight we're going to talk about, did Kevin Durant's calf strain cause his Achilles tendon tear, rupture, whatever you want to call it? Same thing. Means his Achilles is no longer attached. Well, it's attached now because he had surgery. I will tell you that there is nothing that you'll find in the medical literature that will say, yes, a strain is going to cause a rupture. Did his calf strain cause his rupture? Almost 100% certain. Why? And this is where we kind of go into a lot of stuff every week on our videos. And I have long conversations with patients about this. It is compensation, and it is the reason why, you know, when you get a back pull or a hamstring strain, then all of a sudden you have knee pain, these things snowball. And I will tell you, I do not have any access to his medical records, so this is coming from things that I have heard, so it is not necessarily an in-depth study of exactly what happened, but from the basis of just saying, can a calf strain cause an Achilles tendon rupture? Yes, it can. Now, what happens is especially with him, he ruptured it about a month ago, and now we are a month later. So that tendon, or I'm sorry, that strain didn't have the chance to fully heal, which is the case in most pro athletes when they get back onto the field or on the court or whatever. Most of their injuries are not fully healed. They're just healed enough so that they can get back out there. So what does that mean? And how can we kind of relate this to the common person or the average person that doesn't play professional sports? So what happens is when you have an injury or something isn't working fully correctly, you're going to compensate for it. And such a player as Durant, who's so high level, and he's so in shape, his muscles are able to compensate, and he has no idea. So that compensation isn't really something that he is going to show up where you're going to look at a lot of video and say, hey, that's compensating. Last year when Carson Wentz came back and fractured his back, and I had a conversation, we went through this a lot during the day, and I said, you know, yeah, it is because he didn't let his ACL heal. There were a lot of videos that I saw of Wentz where you could tell he just wasn't 100%. There was a lot of things missing in his kinetic chain that he needed to work on. But for this, it is the case of his didn't heal properly. I didn't see necessarily anything in a video that would point it out. But when you have a calf strain, you're not able to push off as aggressively as you would. And when he's running, he's making certain compensations. Again, not to the naked eye, but he's going to pronate less. He's going to invert his foot less. He's going to rotate his hip a little bit more. Very subtle changes that are going to occur in his body in order to make him be able to run. And he had 4 weeks to have his body figure out how it could run without having any sort of issue. So what happens is now he has this new movement pattern, and he's running a little bit differently. And again, not to the naked eye. So this is not something that you're going to see. And this is what happens with everyone in their compensation issues, is the things that happen very slowly over time. And it's something that, you know, you don't just start limping tomorrow. This is a buildup. So what happened is he started to use his muscles a little bit differently. He started to change the way he ran. He started to maybe not put as much weight on there. I would have to look at him to be exactly sure what his compensation pattern was, but something changed. And when that something changed, that put a different stress on the Achilles. And that put a different stretch basically on the whole lower leg. So now you're playing an extremely high level of basketball, an extremely high level sport of jumping and running where you're using that Achilles constantly. And instead of it being able to accept the force and accept the weight like it's done 1,000 times, you're now using it just a little bit differently. And now you're using it just a little bit more in one direction than another. And it's not used to it, and it failed, and it ruptured. And that's how those things happen, and that's how it happens in, you know, the non-athletic person just as much as it is in the high-level athlete. Those compensation issues wind up causing major traumatic injuries if they go untreated long enough. So that little sprain or that little strain or that little ow can become something larger because your body will compensate. Your body will allow you to do most everything you wanted to do. He's a very high level athlete, and he's able to have a lot of rehab and a lot of things at his fingertips that are just going to dissipate the pain, not necessarily worry about compensation issues, and not really get him back to running correctly before he was able to go back out there for Game 5. But unfortunately, the way he was using his Achilles and the way he was coming down on his leg, it caused it to rupture. So absolutely, is that calf strain? Did he go back out too soon? Sure. Is it worth millions of dollars for him to be out there? Yeah, I'm not sure how many people can argue that fact, but you know, it did cause a major event to happen to his leg. So this is not uncommon. Unfortunately, we treat this a lot, not necessarily the Achilles rupture from this, but just this compensation issue of I stepped off the curb wrong, I did this, I had a tweak, and that tweak becomes something major. Unfortunately, it only took him 4 weeks. For a lot of people, it'll take months and years for that to turn into something a little bit larger. So there you have my answer is yes, it did. And 100%, I truly believe that that ruptured Achilles is because he did not rehab that to its fullest potential, and he wound up compensating, and now he's out for quite a while. So there it is. Thanks, and have a good night.